like to stand between you and the lunch. Yes, there are a lot of inputs from the panel members. I think one can build a story, a very coherent story for the benefit of all the stakeholders. But I don't have that much of time to build a story, but I'll leave the storylines and leave it to you to build the story. Let me quickly tell you. I think every conference, instead of stating and restating the problem, I think every conference would be successful, in my point of view, if they raise the bar of performance for all the stakeholders. So one way of raising the bar of performance, I think, we should drop a last mile and then go to the last furlong. I think let us not talk of last mile connectivity. Let us talk about last furlong in a different way. Ms. Ajit Singh said about 300 meters. I think that will be the most useful contribution of this thing. Reference point, let us say last furlong. Second point is that Mr. Sharma talked about real-time online, but I think we need to go beyond that. I think we need to go digital way. The success story, the secret of success of the developed capital markets, the secret of success of the mobile is the digital part of it. Digital has the power of reducing the cost. I remember one of the meetings, Mr. Nandan Nilekani asked, what is the cost of each transaction that when once you have the smart cards or micro ATM, when people said that 10 rupees, 5 rupees, and then everyone, the least figure I heard about 3 rupees, then he said, anyone talking beyond paisa, I'm not interested. That is, I think, is possible only if you go a digital way. If you can have it, even in the capital markets, 40 paisa transaction, unbelievable. That's because it's a digital share, it is a digital money, it is a digital transaction. It's not real-time online kind of a this thing. That's another raise. I think we need to raise the bar of performance. Third one, technology, let me come, the most important part of it. There are two ways of looking at the technology. One is the content and second is the outcome. Right, the content part, we have got VIDA, you have got IBA, you have got IDRBT, you have got NPCI, which are taking care of this. It's going to be a very powerful transaction platform, let me assure you. So the content part, I think the biggest contribution so far is to agree on common standards. IBA, IDRBT together have come out with the common standards for smart cards, which are now accepted in the banking industry as a standard. And IDRBT, IBA, UIDA, and NPCI have agreed on common standards of micro ATM, which Mr. Sharma has said. I think these two things, once you have common standards, you can scale up, you can reduce the costs, and you will have seamless integration. Fine, that is so far as the content part is concerned. But the outcome of technology does not depend on technology piece. It depends on the interplay of various stakeholders, right from the low-income population, B, business correspondent, C, banks and its officers, D, government, and most important, E is the NGOs and the private parties. So the outcome of technology depends on how well the perspectives, the strategies, the commitments, the expectations of all these stakeholders would impact technology. The real outcome would depend on that, and not much about technology. Well, second dimension is that, yes, we are going to build a very powerful transaction platform which covers 1.2 billion people. But the most important thing is it can take care of cash in, cash out, as Mr. Ajit Singh said. But the most important thing is the relationship part. The relationship part cannot be automated. It can be automated to a certain extent using PDA and all that. The relationship involves a lot of dialogue, a lot of negotiation, which cannot be implemented. So that is not taken care by the technology content. That's where the other part of it has to come into play. Customer relations, especially with the credit. So this is where I think all the agencies, IBA, IDRBT, UIDA, NPCI, they're working in various groups and coming to some common understanding on these issues. But I think that there is a law in US federal law lays down, I'm sure that the international speakers are aware, lays down common standards. Common standards for data architecture, common standards for information architecture, common standards for communication, common standards for security. The advantage is you will have a seamless connectivity. And then it will bring down the cost very significantly. And over and above, all of us talk of the identity management, customer identity. This will enable a citizen to have a single view of the government. We always talk of the other way around. Technology and the other elements should give a single view of the government to the citizen. That is where real governance comes in, that what Mr. Subramanian and others are talking about. Well, another issue is that financial inclusion, should it be a moral suasion, should it be a regulatory driven approach, or should it be a commercial approach? Yes, to start with, to nudge all these players, it has to be a regulatory one. As we go along, ultimately the market forces need to do it. Even in US, still we have that the Community Reinvestment Act, which was enacted in 1970s. Still we have that kind of this thing. So even in developed markets, there is a degree of directed lending. We need not feel shy about that, the directed lending. Well, I think, do we need another institution to take care of it? Yes, that's normally the first solution, always create another institution. To my mind, there is no need to create another institution. That's very evident from various points made by it. Let us take the example of PCO. When we have these public call offices spreading all over nook and corner of the country, thanks to Mr. Sam Pitroda, there was no new technology. There was no disinvestment process. There is no political process involved. There is no social process involved. There is just a simple business process. We have seen that changed the whole game. So similar thing that we have got enough of it. We have got 70,000 branches. If you have ICT to basically to reach out, I think that will be another game changing. But at the end of the day, but of course, the enormity, there is a huge enormity, there is huge complexity, there are large number of players. All need to be put together. Maybe I am not very sure whether we need a quasi-central bank, because there is a huge cash management issues, there are consumer protection issues, there are regulatory issues. Maybe in course of time, but we need not stop financial inclusion for creating a new quasi-central bank. Maybe in course of time it could evolve. There are some countries already doing that. And then the ecosystem, ultimately, all the pieces, the ecosystem, the inclusive economics. There are 5 building blocks, to my mind, that emerges from all the speakers. None of them are original. One of the advantages being last speaker, I can pick up a lot of points from the earlier speakers. One is the outreach. It's one of the building blocks, whether you do through BC, through smart card, through mobile, through ATM, through internet, it's not very material. At the end of the day, customer should have that outreach. Then the most important point, I think, I would agree with Mr. Ajit saying that financial literacy, that's one of the basic, probably, demand challenge that we face. Another is micro products, which are very appropriate so that the mis-selling does not take place. Technology is a small element. I would always say that heading a technology institute, I would say that technology is not the major issue, but that easily done. You can write a check for technology, that, let me tell you, and take the help of experts like here. And then the consumer protection is very vital. All these, I think, are building blocks for building an ecosystem, or as some people call inclusive economics. So at the end of the day, it is about providing credit. Without credit, there is no way that you can improve the living standards. Without credit, there is no way that you can improve the livelihood of these people. Without credit, there is no way that would improve the GDP per capita. You can have a lot of strategies for improving the GDP, but GDP per capita, if you just give 25,000 rupees loan, I've seen as a banker, that 25,000 rupees has transformed a lot of lives. I think that is as simple as that. We may talk in terms of strategy, in terms of complexity. At the end of the day, I would call credit stupid. That I'm sorry to use that, borrow the language, that say that is the centerpiece of financial inclusion to my mind, not technology. Yes, I'm not saying that the technology is easier part, but these are all the difficult parts. That's where you build a story around each individual, then only financial inclusion will succeed. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to thank all the panel members for sharing their very rich experience and giving a wide perspective of the financial inclusion. I think before we conclude, we'll just take 2 questions and then wind up. Thank you.